We've travelled far and wide to share stories of the Mighty Saints, Australia's favourite sporting team. From Hobart to Waverley to our home here at RSEA Park. And it's all been powered by Shell V Power. There's no place like home. We've got a few special guests lined up for you today, so enjoy the show. Hi Ross.
Joey.
How you going?
Good to see you.
You too. Well, Ross, thank you for your time here at RSEA Park. I'm sure it's changed a lot from when you first moved here in the 60s, but we'll get to that. We are in the Bayside of Melbourne. You grew up, born and raised, Hampton. Tell us a bit about your journey and how you ended up at St Kilda.
I grew up in Hampton, went to Hampton High, Hampton State, Hampton High School, played with the Hampton Rovers in the under-19 amateurs, and so that led me to go to St Kilda because I was in their zone. I grew up being an Essendon follower.
Yep.
I went to the games at Essendon because I had an auntie and auntie up there, and really enjoyed my time watching the Dons play. But I was bound to play for St Kilda,
Yep.
and so that's how I ended up 1961 at St Kilda.
1961, still at Junction Oval at that stage, St
yes,
Kilda. What was
yes.
Junction Oval like?
I guess the club was very concerned about not having their own ground, and they couldn't decide when they could play in terms of time of the day or time of the year in which they could play. And so some very courageous board members decided, well, look, let's have our own ground, and we came here to Moorabbin in 1965. So that was an exciting time for St Kilda, and I guess in some ways it started the resurgence of St Kilda. We made the finals in 61 and 63 in the first semi-final, and so as an 18-year-old, I just turned 19 to play in the first semi-final in 1961. So some exciting times to be at St Kilda, and then obviously moving to Moorabbin. That was the start of the new era for St Kilda.
So it would have been handy for you just being around the
just
corner,
down the road,
down the
yes,
road.
yes.
And obviously, as you said, there was a talented group of players coming through in the early 60s. What was the feel amongst the playing group moving to Moorabbin? Was it one of positivity, or was there some, was everyone happy to move to the new ground?
Well, yes, because everything was new. We had our own changing facilities. We had our own gym instead of the old decrepit wooden boxes that we had at the Junction Oval. But we had our own change rooms. We had a meeting room for the team prior to the game. So everything was new. The ground, we helped clean the ground. Like Jeansy got us one day as an emu parade, lining up on the ground because the ground had been top dressed. And so he asked us to go out and pick up all the pebbles, and so we went up and down the ground for about half an hour or so. And here we are, 40 of us lining up there and walking up and down the ground, picking up the pebbles and helping the groundspeople prepare so they could sow the seeds.
Yeah, and a full house at Moorabbin in those 60s, it would have been rocking
you
had a full house.
We had 55,000 here in
Really?
the game the first game we played at Moorabbin here in 1965.
Yeah.
So yes, and then obviously the success of the team, that created more members and more interest in the game, and so we played against fuller crowds here, and it was an exciting time to be here. And 65, we were probably the best team in the competition, but Essendon came through the first semi-final. They won the preliminary final, and then they had the momentum, and so Essendon had won it in 62, and they came back and won it in 65. They were a lot more experienced than us, and that gave us, I think, the experience going into 66.
Yeah, and then obviously 1966, it all culminated in the one and only premiership that you're a huge part of with all those names and an iconic team. What are some of your fondest memories of playing at Moorabbin around that era? Have you got some memories on where we've spoken to guys talk about Tony Lockett and the grandstands shaking and some famous games? Anything through that era in the 60s that stood out playing here at Moorabbin?
From my personal point of view, I enjoyed playing with people like Baldock and Stewart. Because they showed me ways in which to play the game. Baldock is he's only 5'9" or 5'10", and he could play at centre half forward and still keep himself between the ball and his opponent wherever it was on the ground. And so he gave me the example of how to play the game. And Stewart taught me to anticipate it because the opposition team seemingly picked him out to kick the ball to him in defence. And I thought, well, there's got to be something more to it than just this. It just doesn't happen by happen chance. And so I thought, well, look, he's got to work it out. And so he gave me the idea, well, look, there is a pattern of play, and that made it easier for me to work out where the ball was going.
Right.
And so I got into his act. So it was just, I guess, playing with those players. It was a pleasure to play with them. And I was supported by people like Alan Morrow and Brian Minot and Carl Dittrich, who were people who delivered the ball to me and looked after me.
What are your hopes for St Kilda at the moment? Are you enjoying Ross Lyon back at the club, and are you hopeful that we're going to see that second Premiership Cup sometime soon?
Well, yes to both questions. It's terrific to see the young players. They've been given the I guess, the responsibility to play their own style of football, and Ross has seemingly given them that opportunity to play, and they've come on, they've developed, and I think within a few years we'll see them being very successful. And I hope they are successful.
Well, I appreciate your time, Ross. Thank you very much. But I have to go and see another Ross now, and this man may have come to Moorabbin at a bit of a different time when the facilities might have looked a little bit different, but certainly had an impact on the footy club as well. So I've got to go catch up with him next. Ross, appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man, so thank you. We're here at Moorabbin, RSEA Park. I know you're the coach now, but I want to go back to the first stint, 2007. You get the job as St Kilda coach. Walk into Moorabbin. What are your first memories of the facilities?
You know, honestly,
honesty.
I was shocked. It was a dilapidated building, but if I really drill into it, I got the job and then walked into the football department. Just cords going everywhere, and a low roof, and I was like a little hamster, stressed. And that was okay. We had no heating, no cooling, really no phone system. And I remember going down to the race, and it was just full of thistles, right? And I was like, Nick Greenwald can't run down here. I said, we might have a condemned building. Can we get rid of the thistles, right? And the theatre was just horrible. But what it did have, it had a great ground, a lot of talented players, and some good staff. So we were 14th spend in football at that time, and everyone else playing finals was in the top quartile of spend. So it just shows what's important. Really good players, a footy oval, and some good support team around it.
It's funny you think about that. You talk about going into the lecture theatre now for a team meeting. In those days, it was pull up a chair. We had to go grab our own chairs, remember, and sit them.
And then I made you put them away.
Yeah, pack up the chairs.
RSEA Park, I call it Disneyland now. It's wonderful to see the club back home, put down some permanent roots. It's really friendly to fans and members, so it's very close. You come down the race and you can engage straight away. It was a Dockers facility. No member or fan could get in that 100 metres, but here, that engagement piece, so it's really well designed.
Moving forward, how does the footy club now try and get their second premiership? How positive are you about where everything's at, and what can the fans look forward to?
Well, the two significant pieces that I spoke about it is people and strategy. So then the better people and the smarter people you get and great character, build out better strategy. But that applies for your commercial operations teams as well. So that's what we need to do on and off the field, because it goes hand in hand. Just keep attracting and get the best people we can do, and they'll build out the best strategies. And over time, and stay true, a flag will come for the door. I got no doubt about that. There's no magic. There's just hard work, people, and strategy.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. Everyone's behind you. All the supporters are behind you, whether it's this season or in the coming years. But we can see the club's on the right path, and Moorabbin's a big part of that, and so are you. So we appreciate your time.
Thanks, Joe. It's a privilege to be back.
Thanks, Ross. Our next guest is the skipper of our AFLW side, who is continuing the rich legacy of leading a St Kilda team out onto the field at RSEA Park here at Moorabbin.
Hi,
Hannah.
Hey, Joey. Step into my office.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. I see not the mirrors.
Yeah.
We needed them in our day. Appreciate your time. Nice to be here in the Moorabbin change rooms. So let's go back to the 2020, the inaugural team. How much was sort of spoken about the history of St Kilda and learning about the club and being at Moorabbin and all those sorts of things?
Yeah, it was super exciting. We had our first team put together at the end of 2019, and having such a huge range of girls with so many different ages and experience as well. So yeah, arrived at the club and all that excitement and stuff like that, and then to play here at the start of 2020 against Western Bulldogs was probably one of the best experiences we've ever had as a club and as a team. 8,500 people, fireworks as we ran onto the oval, and just to have football back at Moorabbin was really, really special.
So you mentioned Nick Del Santo as coach. Two things that stick out for me as a player. One, he never shut up. So I want to know what he's like as a coach, because he always talked.
Girls love him. He often has, I guess, reflections of his own time as a footballer, and I'll never forget how hard the game is. If I do, please remind me.
So some cliches. He's rolling out real coach cliches. I appreciate your time, Hannah. I know you're busy and you've got plenty of work to do still around the footy club, but continue to forge your own legacy at the footy club, and of course Moorabbin's a special place for everyone that's involved in St Kilda, and the girls are making it their own, and hopefully you bring that silverware into the cupboard soon.
Absolutely, we will, Joey. Thank you.